all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Charles Kempf, and today responsible for conducting today's episode of this Sembradores de Luz program. It's an initiative of the Family Department of Sembradores de la Luz, which means light sowers. And it is Sembradores is an international 100% virtual spiritist institution that operates in 4 languages. And as you have seen, the subject of today is the invisible faces of violence. So for this, we have today 2 invitees, which are Rejane Planner from Austria and Anne Sinclair from UK. Hello, Rejane.
Hi, good afternoon or good morning, good evening, whatever it is. Charles and Anne, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I hope we'll have a nice conversation. Thank you. I live in Austria since 1989, and I'm engaged, of course, since that time or almost that time in the Spiritist doctrine, writing, talking, but mostly serving. Thank you.
Thank you, Rejane. Hello, Anne.
Hello,
Welcome.
Charles. Hello, Rejane. Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to having this conversation, which will start today, but will not end today because it's such an interesting subject.
Thank you, Anne. Indeed, of course, we talk a lot about violence. The first thought who comes is the physical violence. But it's not the only form of violence, and in the families. We have a lot of other forms of violence, like psychological pressures or manipulations or whatever. And this is what we will then talk a little bit more today with our 2 invitees. So, fine. Let me start with the first question. What characterizes invisible violence within the family environment? Is it possible to hurt without raising our voice or using our hands? How to recognize this? So let's start again with Rejane. What do you think about this?
Yeah, invisible violence sometimes is invisible because it's not seen. Because within the family, we are so involved with each other. We have relationships with each other. Sometimes we don't grasp, we don't understand what is going on. This invisible violence, what we are talking here, is about patterns of behavior that of someone sometimes does realize it, but it's controlling, it scares the others, it slow someone down. That means it humiliate, but it's a patterns of behavior that um, one imposed to the other or to the group during long time. And this is why it's so important to recognize it's not about fighting openly. Is someone that sometimes love so much that it takes the word or take the space of the other, and they say, no, you don't know how to do that, let me do it. But then you don't allow the other to grow. Or you say, oh, look, I love you so much, but you don't do that right, let me do it for you. Or sometimes, look, leave that, I can take care of those things. These are soft ways of talking, but along the time, when it repeats, or when you say, for instance, for your children, or even in the husband wife relationship, with the companion relationship, oh, please don't get involved on those things, I will take care of that, you are not so good on that, you don't speak well, please, you should look for better words to speak, or something like that, you should improve your voice, or you are not good at maths, or you are not good at history. you when you don't recognize the challenges that life imposes, but you take the action from the others. This is a kind of if occurs always invisible violence, but it's much more than that. No, it's a
Mm.
it's a constant criticism. It is also threats and manipulation, emotional manipulation, and it's imagine that this is a so soft way of dealing with each other that usually people don't recognize within the family what is going on, because in the family we love each other, we trust each other, mother trust children trust the parents, and spouse and they love each other between quotations, but as spirits in evolution, as souls in evolution, in development, we still have uh, this heritage from our millennium of evolution in the animal world, and as human, non-civilized woman. Although I make a quote here, if we are civilized today, I'm not sure. But what I mean is we are egoistic, and we have egoistic behaviors. We have selfishness behavior, and this is what let people or is a threat in the family, because it induces to violence, to this invisible violence. People only care about themselves. They don't care about the others. There is a
Mm.
very good book about that written by Raul Teixeira, Professor Raul Teixeira. He was a professor at the University uh, of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, also a medium, and he wrote a book called Challenges of Family Life, where he points out that as we are, life is so beautiful, and there are so many, we are so different of each other, like a rainbow of difference, but by dealing with this difference, we only focus on ourselves, and most of the time we don't see the other, and this induces to this invisible violence. But this is one way of looking it.
Well, very nice example you gave, Rejane. Indeed, it's a question of relationship, how to behave one with the other, even verbally, or even not using words, staying silent. There are so many forms and aspects of this way to put some kind of psychological pressure either on husband, wife, or even the children. Anne, what do you think about this?
Yes, I find it's really fascinating because here in the UK, I used to work with safeguarding children and then safeguarding vulnerable adults. And one of the categories of abuse is psychological abuse. And in the past, people would focus very much on the physical abuse, on the physical violence, because that is what we could see and was immediate in our environment. But as we progressed, then the physical becomes less, and then we turn our eyes to the psychological violence. And when I was reflecting on this subject before coming on. I said, well, what is violence? So in the dictionary, it tells us that is causing harm either intentionally or unintentionally. So, like Rejane was saying, sometimes you harm people without realizing it. You are unaware that your behavior or your words are hurting somebody else. And sometimes we hurt others because we are angry, because we are feeling violent, we are wanting to retaliate, or we want to be seen, or whatever it is that's motivating us. And one of the important things to bear in mind is that a family, considering that we are all eternal spirits
Mhm.
living one life and then living another life and another one, and so on. Our family is not a random group of people. It is a group of people who are allocated as a team to help each other to progress. So sometimes we already know each other, sometimes less so, but we are not by chance with the family we are. Because lots of people say, oh, I am in the wrong family. No, you're in the right family. It's because sometimes it's uncomfortable. But everything that is uncomfortable is an opportunity of awakening, of becoming aware, of becoming conscious, and changing what is not good. And in order to change our behavior, we first need to be aware of it. We need to be conscious of it. And that is a difficult thing for us if we do not have the habit of self-reflection and observing what are the consequences of our actions, of our behaviors.
Very good, and thanks a lot for these statements. Indeed, it is sometimes difficult to recognize these forms of violence within our own home, and difficult also to create the space in order to try to fix it, to try to find a way to reduce this violence. And it's always a game of two players at least. There is one which is maybe taking a strong position against the other, and the other one, depending on his attitude, it can smoothen the things quite quickly, or it can make it worse, or it can go to a bigger clash. So one other question about this is, for instance, when we suffer about violence, if we stay silent in face of the other family's members' aggressive behavior, does this make us staying silent also responsible? What do you think about this, Rejane?
I'm not quite sure if I understood properly, but you see, when you see violence, any kind of violence, you are watching someone being damaged. You cannot keep silent. You need to be aware of what is going on and stop it. Of course, it's much more difficult within the family because the family has a dynamic, and children respect or used to respect the parents. And parents among themselves, they have all the dynamic. They love each other, but they have their own needs. And sometimes, because it's unintentional, like Anne said, it's not so easy. I think it's better to give an example. You have a family, 3 children, parents struggling in an environment, in a financial environment, for instance. One children come after the other. Sometimes because we are spirits, as Anne said, immortal spirits, we have lived before, we are living after this life. We have our own personalities, we have our challenges, our the issues that we need to work within ourselves and with this family. There are preferences. The first one is the first one when the couple love very much each other. They wait so much that little boy, little girl is the first love of the kid. Come the second, the financial struggling is harder. They let them a little bit aside. Come the third one, the situation is better, everything is easier. They can look at the third better than they look at the second. The second is pressed in between. And sometimes the others understand, the other children understand that the mother care less, or the parents care less for one than for the other, and this dynamic start being playing among themselves. The children can feel disregarded, not that their feelings are not seen, or no one cares for their schoolwork or for what they do after the time. All this can be carried on in the family, but there are behaviors that are much stronger. For instance, when you say, when one parent or one child does something to the other one, even aggressive, and tell the other one, don't tell mom. If you tell mom, I kill you. The poor little one will really believe that the other will kill him or her. And if this happens many times, this child will feel hurt and can go in a stressful situation, can have other problems. This, of course, can be also an adult treating a child, or the adults treating each other. This is a manipulation that is very common, unfortunately, because people don't understand each other. They don't also understand that everyone is evolving, and what I was yesterday is not the same Rejane I am today, or 10 years after that I will not be the same. And if you don't recognize that, the play among the couple can also affect the children. And the children learn how? You learn by watching. If there is always the same pattern of behavior, they will think that this behavior is common, is acceptable. And they will, if is manipulation, or if it's lessening the other, if it's by selfish, one wants to empower himself. There are so many ways of damaging this dynamic, damaging emotionally each other. And people who are selfish, they use these power games, these manipulative games, either with the children or among the couple. I mean, it's not easy, but one of the worst and I think the easiest way in the family to identify that there is something going wrong is silence. When people don't speak to each other, then there's something going wrong. Or when people don't care to have common activities, to go out for skiing, to go out swimming, to go out for a walk. They do everything separate. Children stay on the TV, father stay with the WhatsApp or with the telephone, no communication. You see, you need to observe what is going on in the family. And if you are within the family, your chances are less than someone that is outside. This is why teachers, educational person can better identify sometimes these trends through the behavior of the children. And sometimes the psychologists identify the patterns of these wrong dynamics in the family.
Yeah.
When the parents seek, of course, help or assistance.
You are right. We are not all psychologists, and it's okay to ask for help at any moment if we cannot fix the situation. But of course, yes, you are right. To stay silent does not help. It's better to try at least a dialogue in order to fix it and to find ways out. What do you think, Anne?
Yeah, I think that there are also, again, two types of silence. One, like Rejane was saying, like people become disconnected, don't communicate with each other anymore. But also silence can be used as a form of violence. When you refuse to talk to the person, to give them their time, so let's say the couple have an argument, and then they say, okay, let's talk this through, and one of them says nothing, does the silent wall treatment. This is very aggressive. It's not physical, but psychologically it's very aggressive. It shows the other person that they are not important, that this person who's doing the silence is not willing to give them a word, time, entertain their ideas. And it's used, it can drive a person almost to despair when they try to talk and the person does not respond. It's like it causes a big reaction, and it can be a form of abuse, the silence. And even within the family, like, why is it silent? Like, say, if you're a child, do you have a space to talk? Are you heard? Are you welcome to say what you're feeling, what you're seeing, what you're worried about? Or are you rejected? I mean, I am probably like the same age as Charles or so on. And in my mother's generation, there was a famous children should be seen and not heard, was the education of the time. That children should be silent, they should not speak in the presence of adults. It was a very repressive kind of environment. And then it went all the way to the other side, in very permissive society where people can say anything in any way without respect. So maybe let's find a middle way where we have space where people can say what they need to say, because in trauma, it's not what happened. It's what the person perceived to have happened, because what they feel happened is what is real for them. And that is what causes them the pain. So rather than saying, no, that's not what happened, you are mistaken, blah, blah, say, we use like what we say at work is active listening. It says, I hear that you are telling me that you feel rejected. I hear that you are telling me that I shouted with you. Even if I don't agree with it, I hear that you tell me that. So the person feels, they say, okay, she can hear me. Now let's think of a different way we can do things. And for me, one of the difficulties for families trying to find a good way forward is the modeling. So we learn by modeling. The way our parents behaved modeled how we understood we should behave in the world. Of course, as we grow up, then we might have changed some things as we say, I don't like the way my mom does this, I'm going to do it different, whatever. But most of our behavior is a copy of what we received as a model. And in the same way, we are modeling for our children. So I always give an example, like I was working with families with 2-year-olds, and the child is misbehaving, shouting. And then the mother is shouting louder, stop shouting. And then the boy is shouting and the mother is shouting louder, stop shouting. I said, no, the way the child would understand is you need to model what you want. Speak in the tone that you would like. Says, we do not shout in this house. Calm down. No need to shout. I can hear you. Why are you shouting? Without shouting. Because if you shout, then that's modeling shouting for the child. They're just behaving in the way that you behave. And this is like the parents go, you're driving me crazy. I said, no, it's just like we are brought up in that way, but we need to think if we want to do things differently, we need to say, what do we want rather than what we don't want? Let's construct things in a positive way. Let me model. Let's say, okay, how is, say, I want you to be kind. You tell your child, what does that mean? Show me. What is it to be kind? I need to show my behavior needs to be kind. So I said, see, darling, this is how it's nice and kind to be. So you can copy me. But sometimes we are unaware of our own behavior. So we are afraid to be challenged or disrespected or found out that we are not perfect. So the moment we accept that we are not perfect, that we are also a work in progress, and we can start to adjust our behavior to help our children to have a different perception. So the modeling, when we look back at how did our parents behave or whoever brought us up, how did they model behavior for us and feeling, our ultimate model is Jesus, but he's not in the house. So our modeling at the moment is our mom, our dad, our grandma, our auntie, whoever is the person who's mainly looking after us. So it's an opportunity for us to really say, okay, if I had an ideal world, how would I do this? How can we communicate without violence? How can we listen to each other? How can we listen
Yeah.
to criticism ourselves and not be offended? You know, sometimes people say, oh, you do this. Okay, no, I don't do this. Yes, you do that. I'm not aware that I do this. Okay, how can my ego, my selfishness accept somebody else come back and say, well, this is what you do?
May I?
Yes.
I was, yeah. You were talking, and I remember an example that it always come back here. There were a family with many children. I think the family had 6 children, 5 or 6 children, and when I used to visit them, they were quite very nice. You know, everyone would talk during lunchtime or in the afternoon when I joined them. It was um, you could see the nice dynamic, the harmony. And I've seen other families where only these three that I always give the example because they were quite an interesting family with many problems in the family dynamic. They were only three, father and mother, plus father and mother, but they were crazy during lunchtime or during in the afternoon when I used to visit them. The children would shout, one would take the spoon for the other. It was quite different. Then once I put the two together, because the children were friends, and it was nice to see that the mother of this disrupted family asked the other, how can you make your children to behave so well during lunchtime or during the meal? And the other just answered in a very nice way, I don't raise my voice. Because if I raise my voice, they will shout, and they are too many, they will not hear me. But I talk very low and very quiet, and then they have to listen to me if they want to be listened. And she used this technique, and it's a technique that many people use. Very, very interesting. I hope the other family start doing that. The other example, it just popped in my mind, is a way to communicate that's quite common in many countries in this new generation. I think they do like that. Like, I'm watching you. But you know, if you constantly tell your children, I'm watching you, you are keeping them from doing what they want and for being creative or talking or whatever. Is manipulative, in my opinion. This I'm watching you. What are you doing? I'm watching you. It's a kind of controlling. And controlling is very bad in a family because control leads to empowering one against the other. I mean, there are quite a lot of ways to look at the family dynamics and understand what is going on. But usually we understand when we are out, not when we are within the family, because of this love relationship, because what we accept as good for us and we think that is good for us. It's a big challenge.
Very well. Thank you for these examples. They are really very illustrative. And what comes out is everything is a question of balance, isn't it? Stay silent is not the solution. Raise the voice too high is also not the solution. Sometimes I remember about Chico Xavier or Emmanuel who talked about this, the peace water or the water of peace. I don't know if the translation is correct, Anne. When you are aggressed and you have the reaction to explode as well, then better to stay silent in those moments, isn't it? But that's, I would say, only an emergency solution. So when in the family, no, we have, as Rejane put it very well in the example, speak normally. When you are aggressed, then just take them in a peer-to-peer position smoothly and open the dialogue, because staying silent is sometimes not the best solution as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also what's coming out is we are mostly teaching by example, the example we give.
Mhm.
We are not perfect, so we have also to have the humility to recognize this and to know that the other family members are also not perfect. So we need also so-called indulgence, benevolence, willing good, and indulgence. And then there is also the forgiveness when there is a clash happening. And benevolence, indulgence, forgiveness is the definition of charity, not in the I'm not sure it's the right word, and again in English, the definition of the charity in according to the Spiritist body of knowledge is exactly this: benevolence, indulgence, and forgiveness. Because whether we are willing or not, we are not perfect, and sometimes problems will happen. So the
Mhm.
best way again to face them is through charity, benevolence, indulgence, and forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how can the practice of this forgiveness heal invisible wounds caused by thoughtless attitude? Because we have all sometimes a lack of control, some days a little bit more complicated than the others, or less inspired and whatever. And we do things that we would not have done. So how can the forgiveness practice help in this? And also, one practice which is encouraged by Sembradores de la Luz is to study the gospel at home, to make this small kind of integration sessions of prayers and readings together. So let's ask Anne, what do you think about this? What's the best way to overcome this hidden violence?
I think it's number one is to become aware of it.
Mhm.
Because like we said before, mostly it's happening without a name, without people realizing that that is what it is. So once you identify, saying, okay, how can we change behavior? Changing behavior requires effort, requires a plan of a new way of doing things. And if you are the person who's been hurt by the other, it's you want the other one to change because they're ones who are hurting you. But you cannot change anybody else. You can only
Mhm.
change yourself. So I want to just say one thing about forgiveness. It's essential because forgiveness starts with ourselves, because we are not perfect. And we might have been doing the shouting, we might have been doing the silence. So we need to be able to forgive ourselves and say, this is what I learned. This is not good because this hurts others. To have that humility and say, okay, how am I going to do things differently? Prayer gives us strength to implement new pathways, new habits. So new pathways, new habits are like new roads in the forest. You go breaking the way, and then you have to walk over it many times and to make it clear that that is the new pathway. It doesn't happen in one go. Okay, now I'm going to do it like this, and it happens. No, you have to practice it. Now, when the aggression is coming, the violence is coming from somebody else, you can forgive them, understanding that they are also just like yourself, a spirit in evolution, is behaving in this way, either because it's a learned behavior or they have uncontrolled emotions, whatever is going on for them that causes them to behave in this way. It's not acceptable. So you need to call it out in a safe way. Sometimes I think people mistakenly say, oh, I must forgive, so I must tolerate the violence. I say, no. If you tolerate the violence, you're not helping the other person.
Yeah.
You're telling him it's okay. Well, it's not okay. You need to be part of the solution, but you can't change the other person. But you can help them to wake up and to reflect and give this opportunity or thoughts, how would it be if it was the other way around, if they were in your shoes or you were in their shoes? How would they feel? And some people would say, oh, my father always did this, my mother always did this, and here I am and I'm fine. I say, okay, maybe you're not as fine as you think. Not to judge our parents who've gone before, we all have also the wounds from our own childhoods, the violence that we might have suffered that we are not even aware of. It's okay. All of us, we are still, with all our marks. So being kind and understanding, where people are coming from. And like you're saying, having this opportunity of a set time to sit together, to read, to pray, and say, okay, can I say something now? This happened and this was not nice because I felt like this. And the person says, oh, you're stupid. Why do you feel like that? No, the way I feel is the way I feel. Accept that. Accept that your word did hurt me. And I would like you to think of which different word you can use, which different approach might we have, to discuss it as friends and family and using love in that way. But the good spirits, if we pray, they will help us. They will inspire us and they will inspire each other to have this process of trying to do better, of realizing that we can do better and we will do better each day. For we are the best we are today than we've ever been. And tomorrow we will be better because progress goes in one direction. So we can help our progress as a community, a family, by working consciously on it and thinking, okay, let us work it out. Let us be honest. Let us put the things on the table. And sometimes having, we say, we don't have the solution. How are we going to do this? We don't know, because what we learned brought us here. Let's try and see if we can get some inspiration of how we can try something different. When we try something different, we need to try it a few times to see if it works. And so forgiveness is giving this another opportunity. It's not condoning the violence. It's accepting that none of us is perfect. And if we are not the violent one today, a certain situation might bring out the violence that is hidden within us that we are not even aware of. We don't know which could be the scenario that could provoke us in our depth. So not to be judgmental about each other, but say, look, we are brothers and sisters on this pathway. How can we work better? We need to do the teamwork. We need to support each other. And the love that we have, it's like Rejane was saying, is the glue that holds us together and helps us to work out new ways of figuring it out. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
Thank you, Anne. Excellent. Love is charity and love are really the magic words, but so simple and at the same time not so easy to put in practice, because it needs a lot of effort from each of us and using our free will in the right direction. Rejane, what do you think about these solutions and remedies to overcome these difficulties of hidden violence?
Yeah, the passive-aggressive behavior, no? That's very, very hard. And summarizes very well. It's conflict is always dangerous, or we see as conflict as dangerous. And we also think that emotions should be hidden. But what we need in the family is where we should trust each other. The family is where we'll build what Jesus taught us and exercise this forgiveness, and love, because this is the label of Jesus teaches. The big label is love and forgiveness, and we don't understand neither love, neither not forgiveness. We think that love is attraction, when love is a deep feeling of understanding each other, of knowing what you are and what you are not, and then you can see the other as with the same weakness or similar weakness as you have, or other weakness, and accept. And I think this is what Anna expressed very well. Acceptance is not tolerance. We accept how the other is, but we don't need to tolerate the aggression, even this passive uh, aggressive behavior, because this is very subtle, no? Is sending confused messages about emotions, and then the children learn that feelings are not expressed directly, but they come in subtle messages. Uh, what happened then? The children will struggle to express what they feel. They don't know how to do that. I think was very common in the 50s, when the parents were strong and never show emotion. Probably they talk in their bedrooms, I don't know, but they would never show emotions to the children. But today is different. Today, people cry in front of each other. Means we don't hide emotions like in the past. However, some messages still, some people still have this confusion about expressing their emotions or sending double messages. No? The other is anxious and insecurity. That means you say very nice, oh, how nice you are so beautiful, but then you have hostile actions toward the person. You take the carpet from their feet, like we say. This make the environment very unpredictable and confuse everyone. How to deal with those things? There are many other examples that I could mention here, but to deal with that is really forgiving, understanding, and being aware of the manipulations of these trends traits that are going on. You try to break that, accepting that the other is still weak, but you don't need to be weak. You could be strong. If you cannot communicate with your mom, with with one of your parents, you can maybe find an aunt or someone who you can talk to and relieve this emotion and understand what is going on in your family. And if you are a couple and you don't understand each other like you understood before, when you were in love or in this passionate love, talk with each other. Open the door, break the ceiling, not the ceiling of families, but the ceiling in the home. Make your home a lovely place. And all that goes through love each other and forgive each other. Accept what the other is, what you cannot be, and neither the other. Sometimes we think that the other is a mirror of ourselves, but it's not true. Everyone is an individuality with different desires, wishes, and different ideals. Sometimes it's not so normal that in a family everyone has the same ideal. Everyone is going through different challenges in life, but we can always seek a common path and go together hand by hand by accepting what we are. This is what the simple way I think we should look at those dynamics in the family or dynamics in relationships, because also outside of the family we can have passive aggression and invisible violence, not only in the family.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much, Rejane and Anne. Indeed, it's coming back all the way to this question of balance. Forgiveness, tolerance is also not, forgiveness is not to be connivance with things which are wrong. And in the worst cases, when it really there is no solution, of course, we should even sometimes seek to avoid to suffer too much pressure, because physical violence is understandable, to avoid accidents or harms or injuries or whatever, or even fatality in the worst cases. But with this type of psychological violence or hidden violence, it's the same. Sometimes when it's really there is no way out, sometimes it's better to step away a little bit and to see whether there is a solution or not, or even to step away definitively. So that's really the question of balance. Okay, so we are reaching the end of our live. So I will give Anne again your final words, and then Rejane. Thanks.
Yes, I just think that my message is that we are asked to love one another as we love ourselves. The first step is to love ourselves. And when we learn to love ourselves, we can love others. But it is a process. And in our evolution, we are only very new to love. So our instincts are still mixed in with our love. And it's okay, because this is where we are at. But we can make a difference by making a little effort every day to try and make something better in our environment, in our relationships, in our home, in our inner being. Just with patience, with love, little by little, we can start to build today a better world, because the world starts at home. So bear that in mind when we want to change the world. Let us first change and improve our home environment.
Thank you, Anne. Very nice. Indeed. Indeed, know yourself is the only way of dealing with our existence in this planet. And this is, we talk a lot about peace, and there is no other way of achieving peace than making peace with ourselves. I fully agree with you. I think this is the message. There was a movie that was called Eat, Pray, and Love. I would say, look within yourself, pray and love. Accept, pray, and love. That in this way, maybe we'll slowly build the world that we want to live again when we come back to this life in this planet, and leave a world also for our children, grandchildren, and whatever is with us, the ones we love. I think we should talk about what one of the main tools that we have in the Spiritist doctrine, that is the gospel at home. It's an easy way to build also a new family dynamic, if you don't have to open with your children and among the parents 15 minutes of reading the gospel, or reading a good book with a good message, and then analyze that very short message, and let the children express themselves and express what you think freely, to start building this new dynamic of accepting the position and the view of the other that might be different of yours. And by accepting the different views that are in the family, we'll start building a new dynamics where the passive aggression or the invisible violence will not take place.
Thank you so much, Rejane. We see here just a comment arriving. This advice from Isabelle, before sleeping and praying, and ask ourselves, did I everything what I could or what I should today? Think about it. And by doing this exercise, the Spiritist body of knowledge is mostly a gospel at home. is a question of syntony, because we are all surrounded of spirits, and if we are in good vibrations, we will attract the mentors and the spiritual mentors, the spiritual guides, and so on. If we have bad thoughts or violent thoughts, we may attract spirits which are also in affinity with that. So, indeed, very important, and this amplification effect through the fact that we are living in a spiritual world, basically. We are in a material world, but which is always embedded inside the spiritual world. Okay, very nice. So I think, Anna, I think you want to say something more.
I wanted to say I think based on that comment, I said, no matter how hard things are, and sometimes things are very hard, never give up,
Never give up.
Exactly.
because we are all destined to perfection and to love. And this too will pass.
And we have always the means to overcome whatever difficulties. And also, it is when we are facing and putting efforts into overcoming difficulties, that is where our progress is quicker. When everything is well, we accommodate, we stay with the flat, but difficulty is really what helps us growing. Okay, thank you so much. I think, thank you, Rejane, thank you, Annie. Very interesting talk about these invisible faces of violence. So I invite all of you, if you are interested, if you like this live, stay tuned, sign up to the channels of Sembradores de la Luz, and you will see, you will be advised for the next episode. This is the 6th. So thank you, Anne, again. Thank you, Rejane. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And we wish you a lot of peace and harmony. Bye-bye.